Okay, we're live.
Okay. Just before we, I just want to apologize to the Community Advisory Group for all my absences. They're not on purpose. I usually spend, if I commit to something, I stick with it, but I've had a lot of family issues lately, and they've kind of prevented me from A, being here, and B, being a part of this group. So it'll be a good way for me to catch up today also. Thank you. Any declarations of pecuniary interest?
I'd like to speak about the waters, especially Baxter Lake, Gloucester Pool, that connects to Honey Harbour, and the water quality and why the water quality and blue algae is showing up in our waters now. And it's going to continue to, unless we open some dams up and we have some serious discussions on this matter. I know 6 Mile Lake's in peril. Their water quality is very, very bad. And because of shutting down dams and eliminating the flow of water is contributing to this here environmental disaster that's taking place right before us. We have to really look into this hard, this matter. And it would, okay.
Go ahead.
And South Bay, the water quality there has gone down quite a bit in the 4 years I've been looking up at it. And because of the lack of the dam open at Baxter, it's not pushing the water out to the Georgian Bay, and we're going to have serious problems in that bay too. So the only way I can see to fix it is in the summertime, winter time and summer, is have them waters open. But that comes at consequences of these tourists that could never get to their cottages in wintertime are getting to their cottages in the wintertime. And it's going to, our pickerel are depleting. Our spawn that's coming up, the rainbow and the salmon below the falls at Baxter Lake, that's coming up next month. And if we lose another year of this, we're going to lose our fish, pickerel included, in the spring, because the dam's shut in the spring. So I would like to look into, as a team, attack this problem and see what we can do about it. That would be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Would we consider this part of our mandate as a community advisory group?
I would think so, because our waters are the most precious things around us right now.
I agree, Rick, but we need to hear what the township have to say, I think.
Well, I thought there should be somebody from the township on this meeting today.
Yes, there are. Yeah. Sydney, what do you think? Is this part of our mandate?
You'd have to give me a second. I'm just going to go over the committee terms of reference just to see if this, I know for the Honey Harbour Community Advisory Group, they are pretty broad in the community of Honey Harbour of what the topics that can be discussed at this committee. So if you just give me just a couple minutes here, I'll.
Okay.
Unless
thanks.
Jen has something that she wants to comment. I know she has her hand up.
I agree. It's very important. Yeah. Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, can I go ahead?
You can go ahead. Sorry.
I agree, Rick. This is very important. It would definitely fall within the community advisory group. And without any disrespect, would it be okay if we were to be able to have a little bit of staff time to be able to support the discussion? We can definitely field it and have, you can give us some direction in terms of where you would want us to look. When we look at the watershed, it's not something that the municipality is the lead on. We would have to bring in the Muskoka Watershed Council, because you're talking about 6 Mile Lake through to Gloucester, which falls into that watershed. And we would love to be able to support the discussion and have a better understanding about how your fishing rights may be jeopardized as early as next month. So we don't want to disrespect and blow smoke to you when we don't have an answer from the watershed. So it would be helpful for us if you could give us just perhaps a few more minutes on the agenda when you're called to speak to it, and then staff would be able to report back and reach out to the Watershed Council so that perhaps they could be a guest at the next meeting. So we can try to get some conversations started as quickly as possible.
I can send you paperwork of a study that was done by the Métis citizen that I worked with, a young lad, and I can forward you, everybody on council, a copy of it and the severity of it.
And then come back.
And come back to them, bring it back to the meeting. If I send this to you after the meeting, you can read
You
it.
can definitely send it to Sydney and she can distribute it. We don't want to take any further delays if this is something that is affecting you. We just are not the experts. And when we look at the Watershed Council, they're the experts, and we certainly couldn't call them right now and ask them to join a meeting. We have to give them a little bit of time. So if we can ask that, if we can get that report and get it from, if you can get it to Sydney, then we can send it off to our friends at the Watershed Council, and they can help us to determine who needs to be in the conversation with respect to dams. I mean, dams are a big topic because they flood our waterways, and Brad works very closely with the various dams, that natural and man-made, sluice gates and that kind of stuff with respect to controlling the water. So it's not a quick fix, but it would definitely be something that would to bring experts in on. Is that fair to you? Like, I don't want you to think we're certainly not going to brush under the table, Rick. We just need some experts at the table, and we just aren't those experts.
Pardon?
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And I have one water expert that did the study. And after I send you the paperwork, I think it's being shut down for safe lake running, where there was never any ice before to get to your cottages. There is ice now.
So that's what she said.
So I'll send what's her name, that paperwork in the study.
Sydney, yes. Sydney, you should have Sydney's email because she will have corresponded with you on several occasions. You can send it to Sydney. We can send it out to the advisory group for an FYI. But and Mr. Chair, you can make a resolution if you like that, for staff to review it, and definitely that would get the ball rolling. But we need to definitely bring in the Muskoka Watershed Council. So if the resolution could read that, staff reach out to the Watershed Council with this report and report back to the CAG, then Rick, that will help you see that there are legs to the conversation, but we wouldn't be able to tackle it today.
Yeah, okay.
Because we're not the experts.
I sat in on the Severn Sound Association. They had a big conference in Midland, and I was very disappointed that nobody from the Township of Georgian Bay was there. It was a very educational day, but I was disappointed that nobody represented the Township of Georgian Bay when we had multiple representatives from different regions at this meeting.
I don't have an answer for that, because we do have staff that are assigned to the SSEA, but there's another group that we would want to bring into this conversation as well.
So nobody showed up. So all the information should have been with council already. They would have attended the meeting. With respect to your report, was it submitted to SSEA? No, I don't think so.
Okay, so let's start there. You have a great group of people that would, are interested in the betterment of Honey Harbour with this advisory group. If you can send it to us, then we can start having conversations, keeping in mind that we have to be respectful of what dams do besides what dams do for waterways. And that's where Brad, our Director of Public Works, would step in. So, Sydney, do you want to try to put a resolution together so that Rick knows that we're taking this very seriously? But we wouldn't be able to provide you with any. We're just not the experts.
Thank you. Sydney?
Yeah, so under section 7 under the agenda, resolutions for committee of a whole, we can pass a resolution later on in the agenda after we cover some of the other items, which could potentially just direct staff to get in contact with the Muskoka Watershed Council. Maybe I'll send you a message, Jen, if you have some wording that you'd like added into the resolution, but we'll pass this later on in the agenda.
Thank you, Sydney. So obviously we'll add this to the agenda. Are there any other items before we adopt the agenda? Are there any other items the community advisory group would like to add to the agenda? I take the silence as a no. So adoption of the agenda of August 4th. Can I get a first and a second? Scott Metherall first. Nadine?
Fred, can I also just add something to the agenda? Sorry, I was just trying to click the video there. I would just like to talk about the gate at the Dell, providing access to the waterway. There was a situation this weekend where fire trucks and ambulance needed to get down to the end of the road, and they had to wait for Delaware staff to open the gate, which I didn't think was the agreement. So I just like to talk about that.
Sydney, can we add that? Please. All right, so we're adding 2 items to the agenda, and it's adopted. Adoption of the minutes of June 2nd. I wasn't there, so do I have a first from someone who was there? Scott Metherall again, second. Nadine, you were there? Oh, it says you were. I'm just looking at the notes. No? Chris? Not there. Greg, you were there? Go ahead.
I can second that.
Okay, Greg Garrett, second.
I was just going to note that a member does not have to be present to move a resolution to pass the minutes, even though they weren't there at the meeting.
Ah, okay, that's different than segue. Thank you. Topics of discussion: naming the Port of Honey Harbour Sustainability Department Report 2022-08. Jen?
That's actually Trish.
Oh, it's Trish, sorry.
Good morning, Chair. Through you to the committee, we came up with quite a few names, and it will be up to you guys to decide what to name the Port of Honey Harbour. So we have the Pavilion, the Promenade, and the Parquet that we would like to dedicate certain names to. We were lucky enough to have some Métis involvement as well, and they gave us some names. Did you want me to read the whole report, or would you like I think most people received it.
Has all the community advisory group received it, seen it?
No.
Rick,
Okay.
no?
All right, so I can start through. So we received 26 names last year, starting in June through to the end of August. We conducted a Name the Port contest. And with that, we received 26 different names, some for the Pavilion, Promenade, and Parquet. So going through those names that were suggested just by public interaction were for the Pavilion, we have the Honey House, the Trillium Pavilion, the Hive, Windswept Pines. Oh, this is Greg or Rick, maybe you can help me with this one. I'll put it in the chat. I just don't want to. It's I'll skip it and I'll put it in the chat here. Joseph Jacques, the Bee's Knees, Honey Harbour Hub, Huron Pavilion, the Bee Landing, and the Hive Port. And then the one that was suggested was that. I don't know how you can, if you can see that. And then for the Promenade, Wandering Way, Harbour Way, Harbour Esplanade, Wild Clover Way, Joseph Jacques Walk, Beautiful Sunway, Apiary Way, the Flight Path, and Nicholson Way after Nevin Nicholson. The Parquet, Berry Jam Parquet, Georgian Bay Quay, again Joseph Jacques, Summer Blossom, Buona Parquet. That was just a fun story. A 5-year-old submitted that one. Honey's Heart and Sunset Point. And then the Métis suggestions for the Parquet were Rendezvous Park, Arrowhead Sash Park, and Voyageur Park, and Méchif Park. And then whoever can say that other one, please. So we're coming to you, KEG members, to choose one of the following options for the Parquet, Pavilion, and Promenade. I don't know if a decision needs to be made right now. We need to vote on them. Maybe that's, Sydney, is that what the goal is today? To get the 3 so we can get the signs up?
That's what the resolution that was provided for today's meeting is, to choose the names. But someone in the chat, oh, Greg suggested sharing your screen so everyone can see the names all at once.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, are we good? Can you see it? Okay, so here are the names from the name game. And then below, I'll give you a minute to look at those. So I guess the goal would be then, if we break it down into the 3 locations for these. So I would say that due to the fact that the Métis suggestions are primarily for the Parquet, that we would focus on those and pick the number 1 choice for that, and then move on to the Pavilion and Promenade to pick their options.
That's fair.
Okay, so Chair, I guess it'll be up to you to run the voting. Sydney, do you want me to keep count or anything like that?
I guess that's the way to do it. So the Port of Honey Harbour, the Parquet, Rendezvous Park. How many people want Rendezvous Park?
I can't see them all.
1? You got them all, Sydney? Can you see everybody? I can't.
I can't either. Do you want me to?
Greg is voting for Rendezvous Park in the chat.
So 2. Arrowhead Sash Park. Voyageur Park.
It appeared that Rick Cadeau, he was voting for the Arrowhead Sash Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
It brings in both communities.
If everyone could just unmute themselves and then just state if you're voting for, just because it's hard to see everyone's hands up.
It brings all communities together, First Nations, Métis, and the Voyager.
Which one, Rick? Arrowhead Sash or Voyageur?
Arrowhead Sash.
Okay.
It brings in both communities, First Nations and Métis.
Okay. Voyageur Park.
Ron here, I vote for Voyageur Park.
Thank you, Ron. Mischief Park.
Sorry, just to interrupt, Chair. Voyageur Park is Nadine. I'll vote for that as well.
Okay. Thanks, Nadine. Mischief Park. Nobody? Okay. I guess I should vote. Voyageur Park, I like.
Okay. That would be the name of the park at that. I guess that's 3, right? Okay. So the pavilion names.
That's going to take a while.
Would it be easier to just ask the six of us what we're voting for rather than reading them all out?
Yep.
That's a good idea. Yes.
My vote would be for the Honey Harbour Hub.
Nadine,
I like Trillium Pavilion.
Scott,
Honey Harbour Hub.
Rick,
Honey Harbour Hub, please.
who did I miss?
Greg.
Greg,
Right.
I can live with Honey Harbour Hub. It's good.
I like Honey Harbour Hub.
All right.
All right, let's do the same thing for the promenade. Who wants to start? Scott?
Yeah, I'll put a vote in for Apiary Way.
Greg here for Harbour Way.
Nadine here. I like Harbour Way.
Rick?
Harbour Way.
I like Harbour Way.
That was easy.
Excellent.
That's it.
Was Ron covered in that?
Ron, did you vote?
I like Harbour Way as well.
Okay, sorry, I missed you. We good, Sydney?
We have to pass a resolution, but the resolution that was included in the report just provides naming options. So I think I just need to reword the resolution because it doesn't really work with what was decided today. So you just have to give me one moment. I apologize.
Okay.
Fred, if you want to move on to the next topic, I can just send you the resolution in the chat and then we can pass that.
Okay. There's 2 or 3 items on here that Bill got hold of Sydney and asked to be included. I think one of them was Honey Harbour washrooms. So I think we're looking for an update on the washrooms. Who at Township would want to talk about that?
That's probably me. So the washrooms at the library, at the new library, are open and available. We also have the porta potty still at the old library, as well as the porta potty at the Porta Honey Harbour, and they'll remain there for the remainder of the summer. Our staff are in cleaning the washroom at the library every day, including weekends. And I think that's the extent of the update.
Any questions from the CAG? Scott?
Brad, is there any plan or discussion from the township on when that porta potty at the Parquet is going to be removed, or when a more permanent solution may be found?
Brad's still there?
Did we lose Brad? Jen, do you have any idea?
Well, it's really kind of Brad. It's definitely Brad that needs to talk about that. I did hear from some residents this weekend that it's quite scented.
It is very smelly at the moment. Yes, we've had all windows closed all weekend because
Yeah, and it's a direct neighbor. I respect that. That it's an issue. I think we just need to find out from Brad what the pumping schedule is. I don't know where he went. Did he bump off, Sydney?
He's back. I'm just pulling him back into the meeting.
Okay.
Hey, Brad,
Hello.
did you hear Scott's question?
I heard part of it. I'm sorry, we have a new phone system. It seems that whenever I get a call, I get bumped out of here. So we've increased the pumping schedule to twice a week. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you.
All right, I can't hear anybody again. So we've increased it to twice a week, and hopefully that will take care of the issue.
And is there a plan in place from the township as to when this porta potty will be transferred to a more permanent setup?
Holy crap.
No pun
Sorry,
intended.
what was that, Scott?
Is there any plan in place from the township to remove this porta? Like, is this porta potty there for the next 15 years, or do we have plans to actually get a washroom down at the port?
I believe that is still going to be discussions with the Delawana. There aren't any plans right now that I'm aware of for the township to build any.
Okay. Would it make sense for this committee to start discussing washroom options that do not involve the Delawana, as it seems like we have been discussing washrooms with the Delawana for the 5 years that I've been on this committee, and we are still not there?
I think it's under, if the committee wants to discuss them and make recommendations to council, that's definitely within your purview, in my opinion.
Nadine?
Yeah, it's a desperate need of down. I mean, we're building this port. And so we're, the anticipation is people are going to be moving down this way, and yet we don't have a viable long-term washroom. We get asked every day at Thrive multiple times. You tell people there's a porta potty there, and the hardy ones will go and the other ones will screw up their nose, and then they think walking back towards the library is like a marathon. So I mean, I think if we're moving people down or trying to spread them out, then we need to have a permanent solution.
Can we put together some sort of resolution or something to council that, I mean, we appreciate that working with the Delaware is great, and we hope that at some point that does happen. In the meantime, I think we need to.
This is him. I'm in a meeting right now.
We can hear you, Brad.
Okay.
So on H, we've got Delawana. Jen, I think you are going to talk to this. Is washrooms going to be part of that?
The intention of the agreement with Delawana in the future is that when a commercial operator takes tenancy at the large craft dock, of which we have a commercial operator standing by, that the Delawana would, as a landlord, take on washrooms and parking. And Scott, I hear you that it's taken time. I'm equally respectful to the fact that you're right next door. And if you have to keep your windows closed because of the scent of the porta potty, then I think that that's an error on our part in terms of its location. And I'm glad to hear that Brad has upped the pump outs. And Nadine, I hear you as well about, if I had a toddler and I had to go to the washroom, that's a marathon to get to the library. It's a little bit closer to get to the probably 6th one, half dozen the other, Parquet or the Honey Harbour landing. So all I can say is that it is the intention, and it has always remained the spirit of the project, that once the commercial operator comes in place, that the Delawana intends to take on parking and washrooms, and have had recent discussions with us and the CAO of that conversation over the last couple of weeks.
But no timing yet.
That does not mean that we've solved it. It means that we are looking towards that intention to support that. Oh, Karen's here. She could probably speak to where we're at in terms of that. I guess I have been, hold on a second. I have been criticized that I am giving the CAG the impression that the Delawana is taking this on, but it has been the intention that the Delaware would take this on when there is a commercial operator. Scott, I'm hearing you that maybe the municipality has to look at this independently for the interim. And as of right, we do not have a solution that we have discussed beyond what we have provided in terms of three washrooms in the community of Honey Harbour. So maybe we can't wait for Adrian to have a solution. Maybe the CAG has some other solutions that we need to discuss today, which I would definitely be open to, so that we can in 2022 provide some support for the businesses that are daily struggling with this, keeping in mind that we also have a map that we have sent to the businesses. Now I can update that with the Honey Harbour washroom that's at the Parquet as well. I can do that. And if you look on Google Maps, it does show up that there are two washrooms, one at the Port of Honey Harbour and one at the library. And then I have submitted to Google for the for the Honey Harbour Parquet, and it hasn't appeared on the map, but it is definitely been submitted. So I say, let's have a discussion about what solutions you would like the municipality to take on in the interim, because it needs to be sorted out.
I still didn't hear anything if we know about timing it with the Dell and an agreement. Are we any
That's
closer
Karen.
to anything? Karen?
Certainly. So the agreements are in draft. They are not signed. There is a multitude of reasons why that I cannot discuss. There are definitely still open conversations that I can 100% commit to. The most current update I can provide is there is a gas tank that is being removed on our land on the Shore Road allowance. Probably by the end of the month, work will commence on that. There's an old gas tank that's buried. We will be removing that. That is the most I can provide for an update on discussions and happenings with the township and the Delaware right now.
Scott?
Can you tell us where that gas tank is located, Karen?
It's between the two cottages, just north of the promenade on the grassy lands. Brad might be able to give a more exact location, but that's the general area.
Oh, right, and there's a pylon on top of it right now because someone took the lid off and I can't find it.
Fantastic.
Does the pavilion, does the walkway need to be dug up, or it's in the grass section?
It's in the grass section. It's up on the hill a little bit.
Okay. And this was a township gas tank, or this was a Delaware gas tank?
Oh, it goes back to I think about the 50s. So there's a very long history, but ultimately it appears it's the township's responsibility.
Thank you, Brad. Jen, what happened with, was it 2 years ago we had those nice washrooms at Honey Harbour? Why can't we get?
They are a minimum of $22,000 a year to rent. And we did have one while we were building out the gender neutral accessible washroom at the library. And so it is not something that is budgeted for in 2022. And even if the CAG made a recommendation to get one, by the time they're not available, we would have had to have rented it last summer. And last summer, we knew that the washroom would be available in 2022. So we didn't put it in as a budgeted item. We moved that to a porta potty at the Honey Harbour Parquet. And of course, we're keeping the washroom at the port. So that it was how we remediated that. But the new washroom that's at the library is, a flushable washroom and intended to be able to be support for the community.
Scott?
Jen, I totally appreciate that. My concern is that we have one washroom for a whole town. Like, it's
No.
like I have more washrooms in my house than the township has for the public to use. So I think
It's
like,
a good,
we
Scott,
need
I would
more
discount to that we have 3.
including the porta potties.
Tell me that again.
we have one flushable toilet and 2 porta potties in the township.
That's correct.
So I think if we are trying to invite people into the heart of Honey
Can
Harbour,
you tell us if that's not enough?
I am telling you that is not enough. I am definitely telling you that is not enough.
Okay. I think this is the value of the committee, and we should never underestimate the value of the committee, that if this is something that is a daily imperative situation, that we bring this forward here as community members of the advisory group to push staff to get resolutions in place, or even know that this is a priority for the community. And, you know, the daily impact that it has on the community is the value of this committee. So I know that our CAO did speak to me, myself and Brad, about the washrooms, and we reminded him of the cost of the trailer. Of course, the CAG could make a resolution that we should get the trailer, but even if you made that resolution, the reality is supply, and it would not be available for us from Chandler's, or like they're just not available. We could put a secondary, you can make a recommendation to put a secondary location at somewhere. You could tell us where you think that should go. And we could definitely review that at the staff level and at council. But to bring back the big washroom is something we will not be able to do in 2022 for sure.
All right, so there's 2 issues here. One is the rest of the summer.
Yeah.
And 2 is 2023. If we're going to be in the same place in 2023, then we should be doing something now about 2023 to improve the situation. I'm getting
Brad
a head
had
nod
something to say.
positive, so.
Could I suggest, excuse me,
Hold on, Rick. Brad had
Go
something to say.
Just
Brad?
wanted a clarification from Scott. Scott, are there not enough washrooms, period, or there's not enough flush toilets?
I would say both, Brad. There's not enough washrooms, period, and there's not enough flush toilets. Like, those docks that we put in are actually being used, and there's actually a lot of people coming to town. And when you only have 3 bathrooms for a whole town, like, you know, most cottages have more than 3 or less bathrooms. Like, I just don't think it's enough bathrooms total.
So would you suggest additional porta potties at the Port of Honey Harbour in the interim until there's something more formal?
I mean, I think we need to look at something better than porta potties. Like, I know the mobile trailer is expensive, but if we are trying to get people to come to this town to spend money and want to come back to this town, I think we need more than porta potties. Like, coming to see a town and then having to use a porta potty just leaves a bad taste in somebody's mouth. So I think we need to spend some money on washrooms, whether that's a permanent fix or expensive trailers in the interim. I think that's what it has to be.
Nadine?
Yeah, I think it's more than even just the people coming to the town, because I think what we're forgetting is with, you know, things opening up, you know, the last 2 years because of COVID, we have both camps going. I mean, I have 30 counselors sitting on my deck at any time, you know, 3 days a week. We don't have washrooms. Obviously, the LCBO, Scott's not going to, the Hive doesn't. So there are for one washroom, just for the people that are residents, cottagers, and, you know, counselors, et cetera, all of that. One at our end of town, if you will, is nowhere near enough. I mean, I'm 2, 3, fine, you know, when hopefully a commercial operator comes through, when and if, and things go through, and that we're still talking a couple of years. Let's be realistic. I mean, it's a real problem.
Rick, you wanted to say something?
well, what's the price on purchasing one of these big units? Is it that expensive that we can buy one and keep it for our own instead of renting?
Have we looked at that, Jen or Brad?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because renting, we're throwing good money after bad. If we could purchase it for a little bit more, maybe in 4 years would be a payback.
Karen?
I was just gonna say, if this is an avenue, I mean, clearly, we don't have the budget to make these decisions at this point in time. This is an advisory committee, which we know, we're well aware that the washrooms are an issue in this community. My recommendation would be to make a resolution to council to request that money be included in the capital budget for 2023 to purchase. If that's something that this committee feels will be supported, I think that's probably the best course of action that this committee has within their authority.
I totally agree with that. Purchase or lease, whichever.
Release one, whatever, yeah. But ask for that too, because we're not at the 2023 budget. You know, staff are in a preliminary stage of putting things together at this point in time, and it won't go to the new term of council. But that's probably the best way to move forward to make that request known to council.
I think the community advisory group would all agree with that. Any negatives? So Sydney, can we draft that up, please? Now, what about for the rest of 2022? Can we add some more porta potties if necessary? I mean, this, what I'm hearing is it's not acceptable the way it is right now. Jen?
Scott, do you think it would be a good location to have another porta potty down at the promenade where the pavilion is, so that the boater traffic can access the washrooms? And I know, Nadine, that is even further away from your store, but I'm just wondering whether or not that would take a little bit of pressure off if the boating community could go to the washroom as they arrive into the Brad's gonna say something.
We have very big difficulties accessing that for the regular maintenance until we have an agreement with the Delawana.
Okay.
I'm just mindful of Scott's situation with respect to the odor. Can the CAG think of another location where you would want to have another portable washroom for 2022?
Well, Scott, I mean, you're the closest to it. If we had two there with more frequent pump outs, would that solve the problem? Would that mitigate the problem?
Yeah, I mean, the more frequent pump outs, I think, is going to be the key. Having two side by side, I don't know if that would make a big difference. I don't know of anywhere else where it can really be moved. That's public land that the township can get access to pump. I don't know anywhere else that we could put one, unless we've made an agreement with someone on the Honey Harbour Road in that stretch to, you know, have a porta potty somewhere. I can't think of anywhere off the top of my head that would work. So, I mean, I think ideally maybe that porta potty gets changed into a trailer washroom next year. I know it's not going to help this year, but this year, I mean, pumping it more frequently will probably be the only solution.
So not a second unit.
I think a second unit, it's just going to be two units smelling side by side. So I think the smell is going to be potentially worse if there's two units versus one.
Mr. Chair, I'd love to hear what Nadine has to say about this.
I was just trying to get her. Yep.
Yeah, so it's not so much about, I mean, I kind of agree with Scott. I guess I'm just trying to figure out is if two pump outs a week, if that's in the budget and, you know, accessible, and I don't know, I mean, how many liters you take out, I don't know, Brad, that's sort of, you know, your expertise, right? So if we do have at least two, so we've got more, because the issue is we still don't have enough. So as much, Scott, I totally sympathetic with you guys right next to it there. There isn't any other viable spot, particularly if it's going down on the promenade, we can't get pumped out. But I mean, I think we need two, but then does that mean it's 3 times a week? Like, what does that even look like? You know, I mean, what's the cost of sending somebody down? And it doesn't need a pump out, but we're here anyways, and that's fine. And it's, you know, it's almost like it's every 2-3 days. I mean, we're really talking about for the next 4 weeks in particular.
Yeah,
Brad?
twice a week. It's not a crippling cost to the township or to my department. It's just something we can absorb and hide somewhere. So we don't have a problem doing that. If we have longer weekends, it's probably a good idea to look at doing an additional pump out. And Scott, maybe, as much as I hate to say this, you can monitor it. And if it remains really bad, then we'll just have to add another pump out, and I can deal with the wrath of council come budget time.
Scott?
Yeah, I mean, like Nadine said, it's only really another 4 weeks. So, I mean, if we want to add a second porta potty for 4 weeks and see what happens, I mean, I'm open to that. Or Brad, I can just stay in touch with you and let you know what it's like over the next little bit.
That'd be great, Scott, if you can do that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Sydney, you got a resolution for us?
Yeah, sorry, let me just share my screen. Brad, you had some suggestions about maintenance. Just
I don't think we need a resolution regarding the pump outs. This is going to be another month before it goes to council, so it'll be September anyways. Scott and I, if we can stay in communication, we can deal with that. And with respect to the larger, is there a way to clarify the wording for the larger washroom that the group is suggesting? Jen, do you remember the formal name of the unit?
From Chandler's?
Yeah.
Chandler's washroom trailer. I can do a quick look up on what it is.
Okay.
So I would,
It's called an event trailer.
my suggestion would be, Sydney, it's not just to support the tourism needs, it's to support local and tourism needs. I mean, the local people don't have enough also when they come to town from all the islands.
For the community.
For the community, right.
The one that we got before was the Elegant 200 washroom trailer.
Elegant.
Can we just say washroom trailer then?
Yeah.
I think that'll make it clear enough.
Yeah.
And again, I would say to include funds in the 2023 budget for the purchase or rental.
Okay.
Any other CAG members have comments?
Yeah, Fred, if I can speak.
Go ahead.
I don't know if we would want to include in here that we recommend to council that they also look into a more permanent solution. Like we want funds for the 2023 budget because we know that nothing will happen then. But like I know, the public school has been shut down at the far end. I mean, I know that's a hike, but I don't know, some other public land where, a bank of washrooms could be made available. I think if we just keep waiting for the Dell, we may just be waiting forever. And I'm very hopeful that is going to happen at some point, but it just seems like we just keep waiting and waiting, and we're just getting ourselves further behind. So I think council needs to look into a more permanent solution on some piece of public property somewhere close to the downtown.
Sorry, the chair, Brad has his hand up.
Sorry, I can't see everybody. So who has their hand up?
Sorry, Fred, I'll yell at you next time. can I suggest if you want to pursue that or make that recommendation to council, the first step is going to be, it's always a study. So recommend that council allocate funds for some sort of a feasibility study for a permanent washroom in the vicinity of the Port of Honey Harbour, if that's the intent.
I think if that's the first step, then yes.
Yep. Where is the I'm good with that. What about the rest of the team?
Yes.
I just have one question. Nadine, do you think one trailer is enough, or do you think we need a trailer at the Parquet and a trailer beside the old library? Like, do you think we need two?
How many units are in a trailer?
I think it's two.
You can get them from 2 to 6. They're
It's
different
6.
sizes.
6 units?
6 units. 6
Yeah.
units. Yeah, two urinals and a stall in the men's and 3 stalls in the women's.
Okay, so yeah, one's probably fine.
One is good. And the old library right across the road is the library, the new library. And there's washrooms there, right?
Mr. Chair, I think the problem is they come to the businesses and they have to use the washroom. And the assumption based on outside of small communities that should be something that a business would supply. Am I right, Nadine? Is that what's happening?
Well, yeah, I mean, people assume we have a washroom. We don't have a washroom because we have a washroom for personal use, but we're not a sit down restaurant. So we don't have public washrooms, which is why we don't have that. So it's not just that they're coming to use us. They just come in and ask us. We're the information center. And again, because we're moving people down that way, we're the information center. We're the natural to come in and ask questions. So it's not just our patrons by any means.
And I think we probably want this trailer at the Parquet, right? Not the old landing.
Yes, I would say yes.
Yeah.
Voyager Park.
Voyager.
So do we all agree with this this
Yep.
document that we're going to submit?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, can we get a mover and a seconder for the resolution, please?
Oh, sorry. Who wants to move?
Greg here, I can move that.
And second?
Rick.
Rick? Thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
All right, where were we? We've named Port of Honey Harbour, Honey Harbour Park and pickleball courts. I think Bill added those, so I don't know what he wanted. Is there an update from Township?
I can provide an update if you like. So the pavilion, you've probably seen construction's underway. It appears to be on schedule. The pickleball court tender closes today. I've been hearing secondhand that the contractors that build these are really behind for this year's work. So it's questionable whether we're going to have any bids. And if we do have bids, it's highly likely that they will push out the construction schedule to next year. So we'll see what happens. It closes at 2 or 3 today. And then we'll go to the next steps.
Questions, Scott?
I think at the last meeting, we had requested some drawings of the park. Did we ever receive these drawings?
Yeah, you're right. I received them and promptly filed them. I'll send them out right after this meeting. Thanks, Scott, for reminding me. Sorry about that.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Brad. Any other comments? Scott?
No, I just, are you able to share those now, Brad? Like, could you share your screen and pull them up just so we could have a quick look at them, or what is
I'll
that?
give it a shot. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear
Okay.
you.
All right, I just got another call, so I don't seem to know what's happening. Yeah, let me just see if I can find them, Scott.
Okay.
That's not it. Did you want to move on to the next item? And
Yeah,
I will,
Uh,
give me a minute to find these.
Well, the next item is parking. Again, a report from Township, I would assume. Who's that? Brad again?
I don't have any kind of an update on it. We haven't really proceeded with any additional work on that. There will be a little bit of parking included with the pickleball courts, but only about 10 or 15 spots.
And is the more permanent solution to parking still associated with a deal with the Delawana? Is that still where we are?
I believe so. I've also found the drawing.
Okay.
Maybe to zoom in, let me know. Is the committee able to see my screen?
Yep. Can see that, Brad. Thanks.
I was hoping for some oohs and ahs.
It does look nice. Have we received any drawings yet on the playground structure, or has anything gone ahead on
That's
that?
going to be next year, Scott. We're just out of time.
Chair, do you mind if I ask some questions?
Go ahead, Scott. I can't see you. Oh, there you are.
Is there a reason, Brad, the parking doesn't extend all the way down to the shed and potentially have some parking in at the base of the pavilion? Yeah, in that area.
It's not shown, but it will be available for parking. It's available now. It will be available in the future. It's just not laid out on the drawing.
Okay. And is any of this area going to be paved, or is it just going to be gravel?
No, it's all gravel right now for budgetary reasons.
Yeah, fair. And then are there boards going up at the pavilion? Like, will it be able to be used as a rink this winter, or is it just the roof at this time?
My plan for this year is just to put up, excuse me, something like 2x12s just for a surface, and put money in the budget next year to get proper hockey boards installed.
Is that something that you need us to recommend to council, or is that something that you think you can?
That's something I'm planning to include either way.
Okay.
It doesn't hurt to have the committee's support, though.
I would be happy to put the committee's support behind that if anyone else is in agreement.
Totally. Resolution, Sydney?
Sorry, can someone just repeat what the request was, and I'll just try to drop something up quickly?
Go, Scott.
Just for the township to include funds in the budget for hockey boards for the new pavilion.
Okay.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Okay, back to parking. Is there any comments from the CAG on parking? I'm sure there are, Scott.
Lots of comments, lots of comments. I mean, I think my comments will be similar to the washrooms. I think we all hope that the Delawana comes through and that we're able to park at the Delawana. I think waiting for the Delawana is going to cause some hardship in the interim. Parking on the weekend was a disaster. There was cars parked in the Parquet, actually just backed onto the lawn of the Parquet. Honey Harbour Road down by the boat club. Cars were parked on the road, both sides. People were walking across the road with people driving down. Cars are parked on our front lawn, our neighbor's front lawn. Like, no one has any idea where to park. And there is definitely not enough parking for the amount of people that we are trying to bring into the downtown. So I think we need, again, to find a temporary solution for the remainder of the summer and look into a more permanent solution that may, be exclusive of the Delawana. I mean, hopefully that all comes together. And if we have more parking, I don't think it's going to hurt the township, but I think we need to look for another option.
Mr. Chair, might I respectfully suggest you have a resolution similar to the one for the washrooms
I was
for
just
steps
gonna
of
say
study?
that. Yep. I was just going to say that is exactly what we need.
Yeah, I think part of that resolution may also be the study of sidewalks as well, like in the downtown area, getting from the Parquet or the Harbour Way walk into the downtown is confusing. Like, there are no sidewalks at the moment until you get past the LCBO. So I think parking and sidewalks should probably be part of that study.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Jen.
could we have it then, if we're going to make a recommendation, that we do it at the bookmarks of the Port of Honey Harbour all the way to Honey Harbour Park? Because I'm not convinced that there's sidewalks that take you all the way to Honey Harbour Park either. So
Right.
if there are, that's great. But if not, then, I know that there's established sidewalks on both sides of the road in Honey Harbour specifically. But if we can make the bookmarks, the Port of Honey Harbour and Honey Harbour Park in the resolution, that would definitely help us as we rehabilitate the park as well.
Okay. Sydney, did we get something to look at?
Yes, I have a couple of resolutions from the past items. I just need confirmation. Is it just going to be for the community of Honey Harbour? Or are we going to be specific about location?
For
Well, I
what?
was just mentioning that we should do from the Port of Honey Harbour to the new the Honey Harbour Park as bookmarks. Unless the CAG disagrees and they want to have it further, I don't know whether or not it's something that I'm remiss about.
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably not the prior. If the township are going to have limited funds, that's probably not the first thing on the list. Scott, what do you got to say?
I was just going to agree with Jen that I think from one end, like the walkway down to the park would be a good place to have sidewalks. For the actual parking, Sydney, I don't know what is available for that location somewhere in the downtown. I mean, I think the public school could be an option potentially to increase the size of the parking lot at the public school, or like the blacktop area where the basketball courts are. If that could be pushed back into the field, we could potentially make some parking there in the summer when the school is closed.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm sharing the right screen. Can the committee see the Word document?
Mhm.
So Sydney, I think if we were to do a feasibility, sorry, Mr. Chair, can I go ahead?
I'm just reading. I would like to say for 2023. Jen, go ahead.
I apologize. Through you, Mr. Chair, could we have a direct to obtain a feasibility study for washrooms, parking, and pedestrian walkways to be bookmarked from the Port of Honey Harbour to Honey Harbour Park? And then I think all three of those we're hearing today are just absolutely essential that the municipality.
Sorry to interrupt. We already passed a resolution on the washrooms, which was moved and seconded by, yeah. Sorry, was there any other suggestions for this resolution?
Yeah, again, I would like to see it for 2023. Not 3023. Any other comments from the CAG?
Fred, I would just like to make 2 comments if I could.
Shoot.
Sydney, I think you want from the Port of Honey Harbour to the Honey Harbour Park.
Thank you.
And is there any way to just give this a little more meat? Like, yes, we'd like them to do the study, but the ultimate goal is that they have a solution by 2023. Like, just doing a study is not going to help us. We need actual parking. So if they're able to do a feasibility study and
Solution.
provide some solution by spring 2023.
Sorry, if anyone has any other suggestions.
Okay. Anyone else? I would change solution to action plan, but that's just words. Anyone else?
All good.
Thank you. Thanks, Sydney.
Can we get a mover and a seconder?
Yep. Mover.
Rick.
Second, Scott. Thank you.
Chair, while I'm sharing my screen, do we want to pass the resolution for the naming of the Port of Honey Harbour?
Yep.
Perfect. Sorry, let me just pull that up.
Comments from the CAG?
major park.
Mm-hmm. Is that what we agreed on?
Like it is.
Yep.
Do we want to include some sort of signage or something for this so that like they are named, but also signs are put up on these areas in 2022?
Sorry, I'm just trying to think of another way to word that. Signs with the names.
Yep.
Comments? Good to go, Sydney. Thank you.
Can we get a mover and a seconder, please?
I'll move that, Ron.
Ron moves and Scott seconds. That's it for our resolutions? I think so.
We have one more resolution, which was Rick Cadeau's item, which we were going to add under resolutions for committee of a whole. I can share my screen again if we want to go over that resolution as well.
Please. Please.
It's for you, Rick.
Yeah, I like that. We're going to save our waters for the next generation coming. I think this has taken place right from Lake Couchiching right down to Port Severn waterlocks and Baxter Lake. We have to keep these waters open like they historically were always
Well,
open.
we can do is Honey Harbor, but we'll have that conversation.
Yeah. So I'm happy this is taking place. It
Do
means
we
a lot.
need to add something about urgency or anything?
We're going to lose another spawn coming up there in the next couple of weeks. Salmon and the rainbow are not there anymore. There used to be plentiful in there.
Mr. Chair, we won't be.
Sorry, who's trying to talk? Jen?
Yes, sorry. I'm hearing you about the spawning within the next month. I am not sure that we're going to be able to have that meeting, but I will send out a note once this passes through council on next Monday. I'll send a note that to these organizations that it is urgent, and we'll see what we can get. Okay, but we can't control what their schedules are, especially with annual leave and that kind of stuff.
Thank you so much.
I mean, it's not important. It's important. It's just we have to be mindful of timing.
Yeah.
I still think we should add a little more meat. I would say to facilitate an urgent meeting regarding fishing. Good. Comments from CAG? A first? Rick, you on a motion?
Yeah,
Rick, second? I can't see everybody, so I don't know.
Nadine, I can second it.
Nadine? Thank you, Sydney. Back to the agenda. Garbage. That was, again, I think Bill brought this up. I don't know what the issue is. Scott?
I haven't had a real issue with garbage at the moment. I mean, there is some garbage around, but it hasn't been terrible. The only thing that I have seen, and I don't really know, Brad, how to prevent it, is there has been a lot of big boaters parking at the large dock. I'd say almost every day there's a 40 or 50-foot boat parked at the big dock. I would say most nights there have been boats overnight. And it seems like some of them are, taking their garbage off the boat and just sort of lifting the top of the garbage can and putting a full garbage bag in the garbage bin. So we may want to look at securing those lids better so that they can't put a full garbage bag in. I know that might make it more time consuming to unload, but that's the only thing that I've seen is just full garbage bags going into the containers on the walkway.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. Sorry, through the chair, we'll take a look at that. I have one staff member that seems to love trying to figure out ways to lock up the garbage and stop people putting big bags in. So he has a new challenge.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, the Delawana. Who's talking to that from staff?
Mr. Chair, the only thing that that would be outside of what Karen said, it would just to remind the CAG that the new CAO and myself did meet and had a friendly meeting with Adrian at the Delawana to discuss the spirit of the project and the intentions, and it was a very favorable meeting.
Questions for Jen? Scott?
Jen, are we having any discussion on that third dock today, or is that?
Yes, that's on the agenda.
Okay. On the agenda for today?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought this was the
We
last.
just haven't got there yet.
Well, where is it? I don't see it.
I don't see it.
Okay, well, I apologize. It was definitely something that we were going to talk about. Mr. Chair, I can talk about it right now if you want.
Yes.
We have had, during that discussion with Mr. Conrad, he would like to move forward with the permit process of obtaining a third dock at where the pins are presently located on Harbour Way. And I met with the residents, some residents of Franks Lane earlier this week to have a discussion about what that dock might look like, what the intentions of that dock would be, who's paying for the dock, and what the overall spirit of it is. Mr. Conrad has identified verbally that it would be a dock that he would be interested in purchasing and facilitating, and in return would want to have X number of slips specifically for the Delawana. He has no intention, and I'm speaking on his behalf only by what he said in the meeting, that that dock would go in the near future. It would probably be something that would be a couple of years out. He's just interested in getting the permit in place. So we did have a conversation about the west side of the dock only having fingers on the spine, and then the east side of the dock only being for human powered vessels, and the dock would be designed in a manner that would discourage large boats from having any interest in being at that dock. Also, that the dock would be intended to be smaller than what the present spines are, but it would be sort of on the east side. And Scott, correct me if I'm wrong about the direction, but the side closest to the beach would be a platform that would be within a platform that smaller vessels like kayaks and canoes can tie up and then be able to walk into the community. And then the other side of the dock would not be as high as the present dock, so that small tinnies and whalers can come in to those docks. They would be intended to be smaller with obvious signing for smaller vessels, because one of the comments that we've had from residents is that the present docks are too high if there's the mobility issues for people that are coming in with tinnies. So tinnies is a small boat that's slanged out, that it's usually like a 10, 11, 12, 13 foot boat, metal boat with a 9.9 or smaller motor on it. And those people that are using those tinnies to be able to get into the community are struggling with the height of the present spines. And so we did have a report that we were going to bring forward to the community advisory group, but it was decided that that would be a bit too forward. So what we are doing is just wanting to facilitate the discussion at this meeting, that it is a request and an intention of Mr. Conrad to pursue the third dock. Now, if you recall, one thing that did happen when we removed the third dock from the initial plan for the Port of Honey Harbour years ago, Tatum did come forward and say that they would assist in facilitating this. Now, Tatum wouldn't necessarily be involved. Need to pursue and then report back to. So what I want to do right now is just make sure that the CAG is aware that the request was made to facilitate the permit process, and get any feedback on what you have to say about that. Keeping in mind that we were told that it is not something that is going to happen in the next 1 or 2 years. Mr. Conrad just wants to have the permit in place for when he is ready to put that dock in.
So what do you want from us today, Jen?
I'm really not sure, Mr. Chair. I think it's just an opportunity for us to have the discussion with the CAG members so that everybody is aware of the spirit and the intent. And then staff will have to go back and talk to Tatum to see what they meant, as well as, make sure that the CAG is aware that we are trying to keep open dialogue with the residents of Franks Lane, and that we would be coming forward eventually to the CAG with a drawing that would be similar to what I'm talking about. So, and maybe the minutes just need to reflect that the intention of the dock is to be significantly smaller. I can't say a half, a third, 2/3, or whatever. I don't know that answer, but the east side, the side closest to the beach, would be for human powered vessels and have no fingers on that side of the dock. And then the west side would have fingers that would be have a shallower depth to support tinnies and small vessels, and that Mr. Conrad is interested in facilitating that dock in terms of the cost of it. At the same time, he's requesting that if that's the case, that he would like to have some of the slips dedicated to the Delawana, with the intended use of one day having commercial tenancy along Harbour Way, so that there would be parking for people who are interested in accessing those commercial spaces, like what we saw in Tobermory, souvenir shops, beaver tails, ice cream stands, ticket booths, possibly a brewery, and those docks would be signed for that use.
Okay, thank you. Comments from the CAG? Scott?
Yeah, Jen, I think it's a little bit chicken and egg. I think we need those drawings in order to make comments. And I think it is definitely important that these drawings are circulated ahead of time and not sort of sprung on us, a day or two before the meeting. I think we all need time to see them, talk up to our neighbors about them.
We are not in a rush for this permit process, Scott, so we can bring it forward as an agenda item on the agenda going forward until this is decided upon. But the first thing we need to do is talk to Tatum about what was meant by that comment, and then see how much it would cost for us to facilitate a design of the dock so that we could move forward with the public process of, putting forward the application to Transport Canada and, getting the public consultation. So I'm trying to stick handle and balance between the desires of the residents of Franks Lane, which is becoming more and more residential street, and the desires of those that are interested in commercial development. So wish me luck.
Good luck. Scott?
Yeah, I definitely appreciate we are not in a rush. I just think if we don't start asking for drawings now, we will receive drawings 1 week before the permit is ready to be submitted and just have no time to discuss. I would just like the minutes to reflect that I'm requesting drawings well in advance for the dock so that we can provide comments on it. I think we also would like to have an idea of how many slips are going to be on the dock and how many slips he's requesting. I mean, I understand if he's going to pay for it, then there should be something in it for him. I guess also some clarification on, is the township paying for the cost to get the permits in place and then he is paying for the dock, or how is this process being paid for, I guess?
I don't know the answer to that question. Those are all things that I have to sort out.
Okay. I guess if you could get those answers for us and bring them back to the next meeting, that would be helpful for us to have that information. And then
I think that's great. I'll send a message to Nick and see what he meant by that, and get back to you. And also, I'll try to, as I said, stick handle between what the Delawana is interested in doing and what the municipality is hearing from the residents of Franks Lane in general. But we did
So to clarify, before.
have a meeting with them. They are aware that at a very slow pace.
Thank you, Jen. Before council would approve a third dock, the community advisory group would have their say.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely. You can have the minutes reflect that that's the intention.
thank you. Scott?
I think also along with this discussion, if we are having a discussion on the third dock, we also need to have discussions on the 4th, 5th, and 6th dock, which were proposed a long time ago and have not been discussed since. And if we are deciding on some sort of third, we need to know what that means for the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and if there's still any.
Yes.
You're breaking up on us, Jen.
When we talked about this at senior team, Karen let us know that it is not time to put the boulders back for 4, 5, and 6, as it's something that is still in discussion with the Delawana and the legal, but intentions are intentions, and I did ask if we could put the boulders back to support the intentions that we're hearing, and we were told that not yet. So I can only speak to what intentions are.
I understand your hands are tied. I just would like the minutes to reflect that if we're having a discussion on the third dock, we should be made aware as to what is happening with the 4th, 5th, and 6th. Because if we know that 4, 5, and 6 are coming, then that's going to change my opinion of the third. If I know that 4, 5, and 6 are not coming, then I'll also change my opinion of the third. So.
Absolutely.
Rick, you wanted something?
Oh, I was just listening, taking it all in.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. New business. Anyone have
Sydney has a
anything?
question.
Sorry?
Sydney has a question. Sydney has a question.
Sorry, Sydney.
I apologize. I missed one of the resolutions that the committee wanted to pass about the hockey boards of the Honey Harbour Pavilion. I was just going through, and I'm going to share my screen just because I kind of got lost in the conversation there. I just want to make sure I'm capturing the full thing correctly. Okay, can everyone see the Word document?
Yep,
Is that accurate?
that covers it.
Perfect. So we just need a mover and a seconder.
I
Move.
guess the only question would be, Brad, would there be anything to be added to that, or does that encompass what you need?
Looks good to me.
I can move.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any new business? Scott?
Just, I don't know, discussion around emergency services accessing
All right.
the promenade. I just like some clarification around access to the gate.
Brad, did you hear what Scott had to say at the beginning?
I did, and I let the fire chief know, and he is on this call. No.
So Scott, tell me what your concern or question was.
There was 2 ambulances and a fire truck which were trying to access the end of the pavilion, I guess. And they were held up at the gate and were unable to get in until someone from the Delawana opened the gate for them. And there was a boat with someone on it that had come to the docks that was needing some sort of medical attention. And it seemed like the fire or ambulance were unable to open the gate.
So that's not quite a true statement. I can tell you there's some history that was prior to that point where you see that. A new dispatcher with the CAC, which is the Ambulance Communication Center, was relaying information back and forth to our units. It was a new dispatcher. We do not usually access that area for emergencies. We normally go to the boat club and we deal with it there. With the new dispatcher, got confused. There were some issues that arose out of it, and there was miscommunications between the dispatcher and the call taker, and feeding information of where to go, where not to go, and that kind of stuff. I can't give you all the details of it, but the fire department can pull the barriers that are on that promenade. We can pull them. We know about it, and we have cards to access that gate. We have a card that we can just go up to the gate, flash the card in at the electronic receiver, and the gate opens.
Okay.
Okay.
Satisfactory, Scott?
I think so, yeah. This is just what I saw happen, so it just looked concerning to me. But if the fire chief is not concerned, then I have no concerns.
The fire chief was very concerned about some communication that happened. I can tell you that it's a challenge when you're dealing with provincial CAC centers and our local people. It's right off the bat that some communication was given to that person that there would be nobody to go out to that property and be able to get them. And that's why they started to come in, and that was the communication that started to fail. And then things, usually when you have one little thing starts to go wrong and you don't correct it, the problem just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is a classic example of that.
Thank you, sir. Any other new business? Okay. Scott?
Last one, Fred, I promise. Brad, for the beach maintenance, is there any sort of schedule or like checklist of what's supposed to be done down there? Like, are they supposed to, rake any of the seaweed or pull any of the weeds that are growing? Like it definitely looks better after it was cleaned up on Tuesday, but I would still say it's not in great shape. Like, there are weeds that could be pulled. There's seaweed that could be raked. I just don't know if there's a procedure that's followed or something that's expected for the maintenance at the beach. I think you're on mute.
So it was a procedure that was supposed to be in place that clearly isn't. So the staff member responsible is off this week, but Monday morning it's on our list of things to go over.
Okay. Thanks, Brad. Thank you, Scott. Do I get a motion to adjourn?
Rick?
Scott, second? All in favor? Done. Thank you, everybody.
Well, if Scott seconds the meeting's adjourned, it must really be adjourned.
Yeah, it's adjourned. Hurry up before he changes his mind.